Secretary of State Julie Lopez.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his statement, or should I call him October's cover star for the House magazine. Madam Deputy Speaker, Conservatives back today's motion on the Life Sciences Innovative Manufacturing Fund. It's a no-brainer because the fund was established by us in government when my right honourable friend for Godalming and Ash made £520 million available for life sciences manufacturing over 5 years from 2025 to 2030. Funnily enough, it's the exact same amount being reheated today. That fund built on a series of smaller, highly successful interventions that managed to attract £850 million of private investment for the £64 million of taxpayer money that we deployed. The Association of the British Pharmaceutical Industry called the fund a step change in ambition, something that would strengthen our manufacturing base, addressing the weaknesses that we saw during the pandemic in our supply chains. It was good for jobs, it was good for health security for our life sciences for Britain. So yes, we support this fund because we designed it. Let's be clear about what's actually happening today in the House. The Minister is simply uprating for inflation the threshold at which payments must be approved by Parliament. Fine, that's all very sensible. But what it's not is anything new. It is not new money. It is not Labour innovation. It is not a sign that this government is suddenly getting really serious about growth. And it is not the route to dealing with the crisis that is facing life sciences right now. It is what we were doing, but in different wrapping paper, plonking a bow on it and calling it a new strategy. Madam Deputy Speaker, let me tell you what I reckon has happened here. An edict has gone bouncing around Whitehall from the Treasury in number 10 as the November budget disaster looms. We need some growth announcements. Departments, feed the comms grid, feed the comms grid. We need to give the markets and the OBR some confidence to believe that we are serious about growth. And it's worth reminding the House what happened yesterday. The UK government borrowing figures in September hit the highest level for the month in 5 years. This is truly terrifying stuff. So the Secretary of State's gone and asked her officials, what have we got in the cupboard to announce? Minister, we've got an SI that we've got to table at some point. Do you want us to shove a bit of lipstick on it? And so we have the spectacle of ministers coming out here to tell us that a humble statutory instrument to uprate for inflation, something already in the pipeline, is a grand plan. It shifts the dial on life sciences in no way at all because it's already baked in. This is not a government that is serious about growth, Madam Deputy Speaker. And do you want to know what actually happened to the Life Sciences Manufacturing Fund when Labour took office? In early 2024, we used it to negotiate a £450 million vaccine manufacturing investment by AstraZeneca in Speke in Liverpool. That was real jobs, real regional investment, greater resilience for our country. After that, AstraZeneca announced another £200 million investment in Cambridge, 1,000 jobs. To drive that investment and growth, we also delivered one of the most competitive business tax regimes through policies like full expensing. And then the general election happened. And our new Chancellor, in her infinite wisdom, put a pause on that investment, supposedly to get better value for money and to fill the fantasy £22 billion black hole in the public finances. And we all know what happened next, Madam Deputy Speaker. AstraZeneca pulled the investment, that's £450 million, despite issuing private warnings to the government that they needed certainty for business planning. And you don't need to take my word for it. When announcing Speke's culling, AstraZeneca said the timing and the reduction of the final offer compared to the previous government's proposal was critical to losing that £450 million investment. What else happened since Labour took office? Well, AstraZeneca paused the £200 million Cambridge investment. We lost Merck's £1 billion King's Cross R&D hub. It got cancelled after 8 years in development. That's £1 billion, and the Secretary of State had nothing to say about it. Diddly squat. Eli Lilly has put its £279 million research incubator in London on hold. Sanofi has said it will not consider any substantial investment in UK R&D under current conditions. In fact, industry has warned that the UK is becoming uninvestable for the life sciences. So can I ask the Minister, does he know how many meetings the Secretary of State has had with life sciences companies in her past month? Because I understand the answer is very, very few. What has she been doing to rally colleagues across government and make clear to the Chancellor and the Health Secretary and the Prime Minister the scale of peril? Because it is not at all clear to me, and I've been looking at her statements and I can't find anything. Now, the fund, which we support, is a capital manufacturing fund. It helps de-risk certain projects and it reduces borrowing for those companies, but it doesn't fix the fundamental problem, which is the commercial environment for medicines in the UK. And we all know Labour has made the commercial environment worse in the many ways, like national insurance rises and other tax increases. It's also made successful people not want to base themselves here. But there are also long-standing issues that need fixing here: drug pricing and the VPAG rebate, which risks becoming a tax on innovation. But Labour screwed the public finances so badly that they've got nowhere to go on these issues. Not least because the NHS has had to spend a large chunk of the money that it's taken from our constituents. It's taken lots of money from our constituents, and we're telling us that it's going to make a big difference. It's telling us it's going to make this big difference to the NHS, and it's gone on wage deals in the NHS and national insurance rises. So despite what Labour likes to say about tough choices it's made to improve the NHS, I'd like the honourable gentleman to ask his constituents whether they're really seeing that tangible difference. It's taken a hell of a lot of money from everybody, and it's not working. Now, normally I'd be very glad for the ability of the NHS to use its collective bargaining power to keep drug prices low, but there's now a real risk that life sciences companies will not be bringing new medicines to market in our country. That means my constituents and your constituents not getting cutting-edge treatments. That means pain and heartache. It means ill health. And it means that the life sciences industry that served us so well is ebbing away and taking the high-quality, high-value jobs with them. This is a crisis. So I must ask the Minister, can this fund succeed when the wider tax environment stands as it is? The issue of medicine pricing is fast coming to a head as President Trump plays hardball on drug costs. The US administration has alighted on the UK's low drug prices, and it's using them as a bargaining tool against the threat of tariffs. Now, this government has boasted of its special relationship, and we've had endless, excruciating shots of the Prime Minister prostrating himself before the President. Can the Minister tell us how that relationship is actually benefiting the life sciences? Because I just can't see it for myself. And finally, can the Minister tell us, is the Secretary of State aware that it looks like HMRC has decided that companies providing medicines for clinical trials or compassionate use under the Early Access to Medicine scheme should now be billed VAT? That's a tax on medicines that are being provided for free, Madam Deputy Speaker. Apparently, one company has already received a bill, and more is on their way for others. And this could affect trials, it could affect people's access to medicine. So can the Minister please commit to looking into this urgently as Labour scrabbles around for more revenue? And can he ask HMRC to publish guidance confirming that the Early Access to Medicine scheme in fact falls outside the VAT-deemed supply rules? To conclude, can the Minister tell us how much of the £520 million has actually been spent to date? What is the current investment pipeline, and how does it compare to the one that the Minister inherited? Can the Minister update the House on the current state of negotiations between industry and government on the VPAG scheme and medicine pricing, and also with the US on tariffs? What conversation, if he knows, has the Secretary of State had personally with the Health Secretary and Chancellor on these issues? Because this is an extremely perilous situation for our life sciences firms and for patients' access to new drugs. Madam Deputy Speaker, Britain's life sciences sector is worth over £100 billion to our economy, and it supports around 300,000 jobs. It is massive. It is one of our defining national strengths, a source of innovation, prosperity and national pride. And, of course, it is the key to better health for our constituents and people across the world. The Life Sciences Innovative Manufacturing Fund remains a Conservative achievement, but unless this government acts swiftly to restore competitiveness and rebuild investor confidence, we risk losing our place at the forefront of global life sciences. And I'm afraid, Madam Deputy Speaker, no amount of rebadging, repackaging or recycled announcement are going to change that.
A tip for members: if the word you or your is in your speech, just cross it out. You are speaking through the chair, and I can't repeat myself day in, day out. Select Committee Chair, Chian Warren.